more, we're joined by our Chief International Affairs Editor, Robert Parsons. Rob, seeing the U.S. Secretary of State front and center at a Libya conference, something we hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, quite clearly they're trying to put more weight in this. You know, there have been many positive signs in Libya over the last year or so, including the formation of the transitional government, bringing the two sides in that civil war together last February. But he referred then to October 2020, the meeting then in which it was agreed that all foreign powers would withdraw their forces and the mercenaries which they're backing from the country within 90 days. That clearly has not happened. And one of the reasons they're holding this conference now is to try and put the weight of international pressure on the two sides in Libya and those who are supporting them in Libya to try and make sure that those forces are withdrawn. Is it going to happen? Well, it was promising today to hear the Libyan foreign minister saying that an agreement was within reach now on mercenaries being withdrawn. And the United Nations estimates that anything up to 20,000 mercenaries and foreign fighters may be in the country at the moment. So we're talking about a lot of people. They may be withdrawn. One question that sort of comes to my mind when I hear that phrasing is, does that refer to the Turkish official forces, which are also in Libya at the moment? Probably not. President Erdogan has made clear that as far as he's concerned, there is no moral or legal pressure on Turkey to withdraw its forces from Libya at the moment because they're there under an agreement with the government of national accord, which is the one that came before this transitional government. There will be a lot of pressure on Turkey, though, if things are starting to move forward, to step into line and make sure that no advantage is gained to one side. Because if the Turks say, OK, this only applies to mercenaries, we're keeping our official forces in Libya, the Russians, the others who are there, there are Sudanese, Chadian mercenaries there, may well just say, well, Haftar, the leader of the eastern part of Libya that was fighting against the GNA in Tripoli, will say simply, look, this isn't fair. We're going to withdraw all these guys out of the country. The Turks are going to be staying with the ones they supported. There will be an imbalance, and that's going to spoil the whole way forward. Interestingly, though, Heiko Maas, the German foreign minister, said if progress was to be made, the steps taken had to be coordinated and sequential if it was going to work, and would take a bit of time.
Would take a bit of time, he says. So perhaps they are working on that sequence, as you put it. Do you reduce this right now? You mentioned all the other players to basically a problem right now between Turkey and Russia?
Well, they're the biggest players. Let's be honest about it. The United Arab Emirates has also been fairly influential in the past. But if Russia pulls the plug and if Turkey pulls the plug, that really is the main deal struck there, I think. The urgency, of course, comes from the fact that the next stage in all this is the plan to hold elections on December the 24th for the government that comes after the transitional government. But for that to happen, first of all, constitutional changes have to be made, legal changes have to be made, which will make it possible for the National Electoral Commission to move forward on the plans for that election on December the 24th. At the moment, there are all kinds of things that are standing in the way of that, one of which is the presence in the country of so many foreign mercenaries. Because how can you possibly hold a free and fair election if all over the country, there are fighters who could influence that election in one way or another. So that has to be got out of the way first. Now, the constitutional changes and the legal changes were meant to be in place, according to the demands of the United Nations Security Council, by July the 1st. That's clearly not going to happen. But there's a meeting coming up in Geneva next week, sort of follow-on to this, which will be looking at the issue of the elections, and they will hope to make progress. The Prime Minister of Libya said today that, as far as he's concerned, the election is going to go ahead on the 24th. Lots of obstacles in the way, not least within the Libyan parliament, because there are many people who see the possibility that if there genuinely is a free and fair election in Libya, they could be losing their careers. A lot of people are looking at this and saying, do we really want it? So there's a lot still hanging on what's going on at the moment. And these discussions are taking place in Berlin today, Geneva in a week's time.
All right, long road to December. Many thanks, Robert Parsons.